Welcome, Ms. Romero's students, to another week of math. My name is William Olmedo, and I'm the instructional coach at LA Academy. So today we are going to be covering the notes from 7.4 to 7.5, which is division and multiplication equations. You have covered addition and subtraction. So now we're going to figure out what to do with equations that require for us to divide or multiply. You're going to find two videos that you're going to be watching. One of them is on how to multiply to find the answer in an equation, or how to divide to find the answer of an equation. So right now you'll see the two videos. Here's one, and then over there, over there you're going to see the other one. The link to the video following standards. You've covered 6EE5 and 6EE7. Just quick note, the ratio and proportion standard is embedded into this practice. You will see it as you learn to multiply or divide to solve the equation. Let's review real quick. EE5 requires for you to solve an equation within a specified set. You're going to determine the equation is true or not, and you are going to do some substitution in order to determine if that is true. This will apply when we're checking our work, and you'll see further examples of these type of equations as you progress through this standard. EE7, you covered it when you added and subtracted equations, and the focus is now when they look like Px equals Q. By the way, P, Q, and X are all non-negative rational numbers, meaning that they're all going to be positive. You will see maybe one or some examples when they are a negative. Moving forward, here is your objective. I am learning how to solve and write multiplication and subtraction equations. Let me hear you say it. What are you learning? Good job. The strategies that you're going to be using for this lesson is your interactive notebooks. You're going to be doing some group sharing, the online whiteboard, and some sentence starters. And the artifacts is your homework, which you get to see. Page 555, the problems 1 through 5, and 567, problems 1 through 5. Your essential question. Can I hear you read it? Yeah, you. Go ahead and read it, nice and loud. Good job, thank you. How do you determine if two numbers or expressions are equal? So we're going to get to see some vocabulary words coming up pretty soon, but expression is a good vocabulary word for us to know, and also equal. What are you going to learn today? May I have another volunteer? Yeah, you over here on the upper right hand corner. Go ahead and read this for me. You're too shy to turn on your camera. How about your mic? Just go ahead and read it. Okay, we'll move on. We'll come back to you. All right, so the next person is going to read it. Good job. What are you going to learn today? That person said to multiply equations by dividing and using a bar diagram. You've seen this before back in elementary school, and you're going to see it again today. Here's a vocabulary list. Product. Let's go ahead and all of us read the definition out loud, including the example. At the count of 3. We're going to read all the definitions that are listed here so we could know what they are for this particular 7.4 and 7.5. 1, 2, 3. Let's read it out loud. The number resulting from the multiplication of two or more numbers. The example, multiplying 3 by 5 gives a product of 15. So the product is the answer when we multiply these two items. 3 groups of 5 gives us an answer of 15. What about quotient? The count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Read it out loud. the number obtained by dividing one number by another. The example is dividing 10 by 5 gives us a quotient of 2. So if I have a total of 10 items and I want to know if I have 5 groups, how many does each group get? They all get 2 out of those 10 items. Good job at reading. Stay with me. We're going to read the word expression, and the definition. A mathematical phrase combining numbers and or variables. An expression does not contain equality, the root word being equal, or inequality. We will study this later, but may include other operators and grouping symbols, parentheses, brackets, the other operators, you'll learn about them as well. Now we move on to the word equation. A mathematical sentence that has two equal signs. Look, equal again, separated by an equal sign. So we're looking for an expression on the left, an expression on the right, and in the middle will be the equal sign. We can see on the left side of the equal sign that we have 4 plus 6, and on the right hand side we have 10, because we know that this numerical equation is true. 4 plus 6 is equal to 10. I can show you using my fingers. I put up 4 fingers, then I put up 6 fingers, and I have a total of 10. So the expression on the left, 4 fingers plus the addition of 6 fingers is equal to 10 fingers. So left side is the expression, 10 is also an expression, but this is a numerical equation because we have equal in between. You're going to see algebraic equation as well. Inverse operation, you also studied this when you were learning how to do adding and subtraction with Miss Romero. So what does that look like? It looks like the following. Give me a second. The operation that reverses the effect of another operation. So the opposite. An example, when you add and subtract the inverse operation. So you start with a 7, add a 3, what do you get? Glad you said 10. Now let's do the inverse of that. From 10, subtract 3. What do you get back? 7. You could also do it with multiplication and division. Let's look at the example. Let's start with a 10. Let's divide that by a 2. Tell me what you get. Oh, you need a better example of that? Let's start with 10 apples. You're going to divide it into 2 groups. Each group will get how many? 5 apples. And let's do the reverse of that. So since each group got 5 and you'll have 2 groups in total, the reverse will be multiplying those 5 apples by the 2 groups, giving you a result of 10. Some of you might understand multiplication and division by the following. Multiplication is repeated addition. Repeated addition. For example, that example, you could go 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. You're going to get 5. And the same thing with division. It's repeated subtraction. You're going to repeat it the same number of times to subtract. So if you have 10, subtract 2, 10 minus 2, 10 minus 2, 10 minus 2, 10 minus 2, till you get 0, and you've done that 5 times. Moving on, you're going to see all of these come together in the lesson that we have for you today, along with the addition and subtraction lesson that Ms. Romero taught you. Let's see what's next. So now we get to talk about some more vocabulary words, the division property of equality and the multiplication property of equality. You're going to see division property of equality represented next. Once we're done practicing those problems, you're going to see the multiplication property of equality sampled next. So let's look at that. So here we have the multiplication division of property. Please read it to yourself. I'll read it for you as well. If you divide each side of the equation by the same non-zero number, the two sides remain equal. Bing, 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 the word equal. Look at it numerically. Both of these expressions are 18. This is a numerical equation. What happens when they divided both sides by 6? Because we're looking at 18 items divided into 6 groups. Each group gets 3. So that means that this remains equal. I could divide this by 3 even further. 3 items into 3 groups will give me an answer of 1. 1 equals 1. That will remain the same. An algebraic equation is the difference with we have a variable. This variable happens to be x. We don't know what that amount is. So this reads 3 times the quantity. The quantity being x is equal to 12. You probably already did some mental math and you know that 3 times 4 is 12, but we're going to apply the division property of equality that tells us to divide both sides by 3. Why 3? Because that gives you a coefficient. That means the number in front of the variable of 1. So we're trying to make 3 divided by 3 into a quantity of 1. And 3 happens to go into 12 4 times. 12 items divided into 3 groups gives you a total of 4 items in each of those groups. So now we have discovered what that variable is. That variable happens to be 4. You probably did the mental math and you can say, but Mr. Olmedo, Mr. Romero, I could do mental math and I could solve these equations faster than showing you this work. You are correct. But showing you these words is going to lead you into more complex equations that you're going to solve. Let's look at some sample problems. Mr. Olmedo messed up because he's showing you all of the work. We could still figure it out. Go ahead and pause it, write down all of these steps that you see, and Mr. Olmedo is going to explain it to you. So instructions are to solve the algebraic expression of 2 times a quantity that's equal to 10. We're using x. We could have used any variable here. Y, P, Q, R, A, any variable. But x and y are usually good. And they also want you to check your solution. So you're doing 2 things. You're going to show us how to solve it. You're going to show us how you're going to check the solution. On the right side is the written explanation of what you're doing. So 2x equals 10. The left side of the equation is 2 times x. The right side of the equation is 10. Remember that the purpose of an equation is for it to be equal. The left side has to be a 10. Yes, I understand. Some of you have a question, but Mr. Olmedo, I did mental math, and I know that that number has to be 5 because 2 times 5 is 10. Why do I have to do it? Because we're applying a property here, which is the division property. Dividing 2 by 2 gives you a quantity of 1. Then 10 divided by 2 gives you a quantity of 5. Remember, you're looking at groups. You have 10 items, 2 groups. How much in each item? 5. The same thing with this. You have 2 items into 2 groups. Each of those groups gets 1. And that's the key. Getting that coefficient, the number in front of the variable, to reduce to the number 1. How do we do the check? We're going to substitute. Remember that word came up earlier. We're going to substitute the value that we found for the quantity back into the equation. And why do we put this in parentheses? Because that parentheses represents multiplication. It's a group. You could also do it 2x5. But see, the confusion comes when you say x. Are you talking about the variable or the multiplication symbol? So we use the parentheses, or we could use the multiplication dot to show us multiplication. And 2 times 5, there's a reason that there's a question mark, because we're trying to see if this algebraic equation is balanced. Is it true? Is 2 times 5 10? Well, let's think about it. 2 groups of 5 things in there. So that means I have 5 plus 5 is 10. Yes, it's the same. So that's why this is true, and we put a check mark. Do we need to see another example? Of course we do. Let me get an example. But here it is. You're going to do this one by yourself. Write it in your notes, and then show Mr. Romero. What questions might you have? Oh, it's written backwards. I just noticed. Ah, so this one's different. And so is this. How about we write 6x first, then equals, and then 18. Can that help you? Again, try writing it. 6x equals 18. Guess what? I'm giving you the answer. So what do you have to do? Show me this work with this writing, and then check it. All right, I know you got it, and you're going to understand it. Moving on. Thank you. So we have another example. Go ahead and read it. What am I asking you to do? Two things. What's the key word? Solve. And then once you solve, what are you going to do? Check your solution. Awesome. So let's read it together. Solve 3 times the quantity. It's going to equal 6. That quantity being what? X, the variable. Good job. So we're looking for 3 times something to give us 6. So we're going to write that equation. And remember that this could be written backwards. 6 first equals 3x. And yes, I know what you're all saying. Mr. Olmedo, I could do mental math. I know that 3 times 2 is 6. And I know that that equation's balanced because 6 is equal to 6. So therefore, it's true. But we have to apply the division property of the equality, meaning we have to divide both sides by 6. Because remember, the trick is to get this 3 into a coefficient of 1. The coefficient is that number. Why do we want a number of 1? Because we want to know that we have 3 items divided into 3 groups. That gives us 1. So that item that we're going to divide into 3 has to be divided into 6. There's going to be sometimes you're going to get a decimal answer or a fraction of an answer. That's fine. We're going to get there, and you're going to see that work. So we have 6 items, 6 apples, divided into 3 groups. How many apples does each group get? Correct, 2. And then we do substitution. We're replacing the x, the variable, the quantity, with our solution of 2. And this tells us to multiply. Remember, the parentheses are telling us to multiply. The question mark is written because we don't know if it's true. 3 times the quantity of 2. 3 groups of 2. So what are we going to do? Add 2 plus 2 plus 2. That gives us 6. 6 is equal to 6, and therefore it's true. You're going to do another one by yourself. Show me that you understood without showing me that you understood. Yes, I've been watching TikTok. I know what you're watching. So again, show me that 24 equals 4x, that you could get the answer of 6 without showing me that you got it. Let's see if you could be creative in showing me this answer. You know what to do. You could rewrite it. 4 times the quantity x equals 24, and then come up with the answer. I'm giving it to you, but I want you to show me that you know what to do without showing me that you know what to do. Moving on. Ooh, what happened here? This one looks complicated. Let's take a minute and let's read that first sentence. Vicente and some friends share the cost of a package of blank CDs. Man, some of you might not know what a CD is. Actually, I just threw some away. So they're round circular objects. Our generation, we use them for music. Our programs got in there. So, and blank CDs were cool because we were able to record our own music that we wanted and make our own mixtapes on CD. So let's see what the next sentence is telling us. The package cost $24 and each person contributed $6. So the whole blank CDs cost $24 and each person contributed $6. Well, how many people are there before we continue? We know there's Vicente and they're saying some friends. So we don't know how many people are going to be there. We just know each person put in $6 and the whole thing costs 24. So we are trying to figure out the number of groups of friends. We know the total is 24. We don't know how many people were involved, but we know each person contributed $6. Ah, there's the question. How many people share the cost of the CDs? So this is how you handle a word problem. You start breaking it down, almost like if you're talking to yourself. And that's going to help you understand what you're really after. So in words, amount each contributed times the number of people equals the cost of the CD. So let me spell that out. So if we had, let's say, 5 people, and each person paid $6. Let's add that up. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, that's 30. That was way too much, right? Because the whole thing cost $24. So that's what this is telling you. So we're going to represent X to be the number of people that contributed money. So that's our unknown quantity, X. This is where the variable comes in. So if we look at this bar diagram, the total cost was 24. Each person, so this is one person right here, represents 6. This rest of the bar represents X, because we don't know how many people are involved. We know for sure it's one person, right, which is Vicente. So let's consider this person as being Vicente. We don't know the rest of the people. That's equal to 24. So if we go back and practice what we were learning, applying the division property of the equality, 6 groups of 6 gives us 1. That means this is the number of people that we're going to find out, right, that bought this. 24. What's going on right here? Is this an error that Mr. Almedo just found? Because this has to be an answer of 4, not 24. Because you have 24 items into 6 groups, that should give you a total of 4. So 4 people, that includes Vicente, contributed money to buy the CDs. Let's look at it with my fingers. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 24. Remember last time I guessed at 5, and that was too much. All right, you might have been confused with this problem. Go ahead and pause, review this. You could review me starting to explain this problem as you're writing down the notes, and then let's see how you get this one. You have another one to do by yourself, similar to this one. What I want you to do is plan the attack the way this one did it. Write it in words, represent your variable, show me that bar diagram, go through the equation. Remember that this is a 4, which is this 4 right here. Check it and then write a complete sentence of the answer. There were 4 people who split the cost of the CDs. This answers the question, how many people share the cost of the CDs? You're going to do the same thing with this one. Put this in the interactive notebook. It's okay if you're stuck, but you could write out your plan the way you see it here. And hopefully you get to the answer. If not, you will get help in class. All right, we're going to skip this one. This one includes decimals. I will show you what to do. I will upload another video just because this one has gone very lengthy. But go ahead and write down the notes. And you're going to get another video that shows you how to divide decimals. And this will just be a quick review of how we're going to do the decimal division to get the answer. Moving on. You could skip this one as well, because once you're told how to divide by decimals, you're going to be able to understand it. Now we get to the multiplication property of equality. Let's go ahead and take a pause. Take a breather. You're not walking away. Go ahead and stretch. Oh, there you go. Try to reach the skies with your right hand and your left. Stretch. That was a good stretch for me. Let's see what these problems look like. Why are we looking at a multiplication property of equality? Go ahead and read it in where it's, if you multiply each side of the equation by the same non-zero number, the 2 sides remain the same. So again, we get the example of the numerical equation. It's being multiplied by 6 on both sides. Remember that we're doing this because it has to remain true. 3 is equal to 3, but 3 times 6 is 18. We have to do it to the right side. 3 groups of 6. So what are you going to do? Add 3 6 times. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. That gives you 18. We did it to the left side of the equation. We have to do it to the right side of the equation. Remember, this is the numeric equation. What about the algebraic equation? Well, the whole purpose of the multiplication property of equality is to get the variable constant, the number in front, to equal 1. And what better way for us to get a 1 than to take a 4? Because that's in the denominator. Denominator is another key vocabulary word when we're dealing with a fraction. That's the number in the bottom. And what do we call the number on the top? Heard someone say it a little bit louder. Numerator. Good job. So we're going to multiply the left side of the equation by 4 because we have 4 groups of 4. What does that give us? 1. And then we get the answer. So we're multiplying. But Mr. Meadow, we just talked about division, but we're multiplying in order for us to get that coefficient of 1. It's a little bit tricky, but you're going to get it. Let's look at these examples. Oh no, look at this one. That bar diagram is coming up again. They're asking us to solve the quantity, some sort of quantity divided by 3 must equal 7. So we're looking for the total that's divided by 3 groups. And in each group, we're going to get 7. That's what this is asking us. They switched the variableness to an a. I prefer x. So again, what amount divided into 3 groups will give you 7 items in each group? That's what this is asking us. So let's look at this model. Remember that the top piece is the total. The total happens to be our variable a. Why 3 boxes? Because that's the number of groupings. How many in each box? 7. So technically all you have to do is add 7 3 times. And what are you going to get? 21. Oh, a little bit easier, right? Because we know that we need to have 3 boxes because of the denominator. We know that inside of each box is 7, and that's going to give us a total. 7 plus 7 plus 7, or 7 times 3 will be 21. So let's look at it, how we do it algebraically without the diagram. Multiply both sides by 3, because that will give us the equality of 1. 3 groups divided amongst 3 items. That means each item, 3 items divided into 3 groups. That means each group gets 1 thing. And with 7 times 3, 21. Remember, this is an equal balance. This is telling us that the left side of the equation must be a 7 because the right side is a 7. And what better way to get that than figuring out what that total is? 21 divided by 3 is 7. And this is how you check it. You substitute the solution into the variable. Remember, the question mark is finding that balance, and then we get it. We get that 21 broken up into 3 groups is 7 items in each group. And this is how you get the answer of 21. So I'm providing 2 different methods. I like this one first because it helps you understand it, and then you're going to move on to this one. Some of you that are quick, you probably got it. What about those of you who like mental math? Are you still stuck? Okay. But again, you have to show us the work, including what's written in blue. This was all by you, done by yourself. What am I asking you? The total amounts. How many groups do we have? 5. How many in each group? 7. So then you should be able to figure out the total amount because you have 5 groups, and in each group you have 7. 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. And you're going to get the answer. Do this one by yourself, write it down, and show Ms. Romero. Here's another way to explain a word problem. Let's take it one sentence at a time. Good job at reading. Yes. What words confuse you in that first sentence or that you need help? For me, it's 1/6. I would need to know what is 1/6. So let's go ahead and read it out loud before we move on. The weight of an object on the moon is 1/6 that of its weight on Earth. So 1/6 simply means 1 out of 6. So if I had a square and it's divided into 6 parts, one of those little squares is shaded and the other 5 is not. That's 1/6. 1 being the numerator, that's the number on top, 6 being the denominator. If an object weighs 35 pounds on the moon, they want you to write and solve a division equation to find its weight on Earth. So they want you to write and solve a division equation to find its weight on Earth. So the weight of the object on Earth is divided by 6, and it's equal to the weight of the moon. A little bit confusing. This hopefully, as we present it, this makes sense. W is representing the weight of the object on Earth. So we know that's the total, W. And it's 1/6. So we have 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of those parts is 35 because it's telling us 1 out of 6. So we have W divided by 6. W is the numerator, 6 is the denominator, and that's equal to 35. So the total, there's 6 parts, and each part is 35. So how do we do that? Let's use our fingers before we try to solve anything. So 35 plus 35 plus 35 plus 35 plus 35 plus 35. That will give us the total. When we're applying the multiplication piece of the equality, it simply means to multiply both sides by 6 to give us a coefficient of 1. And this gives us 35 times 6, 210. I wish I had my annotation pencil to show you what this will look like when you multiply 35 by 6 and it doesn't let me annotate. I might try to add it later. So again, a complete sentence, the object weighs 210 pounds on Earth, and that comes from knowing that it's 1/6 the weight of Earth. Notice that there's no question here, but it's right here, find its weight on Earth. That's how they derive the answer in a complete sentence. This one's by yourself. We're going to wait for Ms. Romero to show you how to do this one step by step because division is a little bit complicated, and then adding word problems makes it even harder. Yes, you have the equation, you have the answers, so if you're bold, go ahead and look at this and see if you can set it up. What am I going to ask you next? Show me that you understood without showing me that you got it. Let's see how many of you get creative at getting this problem. We're going to skip the decimals again. I'm going to present a video on showing you how to multiply and divide decimals as a refresher because you might have forgot. The same thing right here. You're going to wait on this one. And now you have your independent practice. Your independent practice is going to be nothing but whole numbers. So you're either going to multiply or you're going to divide. Remember what I just reminded you of multiplication is repeated addition and division. Multiplication is repeated addition and division is repeated subtraction. Do your diagrams, do your groups. That's how you're going to be able to get better at it. You could use your calculator to double check your work, but use what you know already, your groupings for multiplications. How many groups of this will give me the total? And it's the reverse of division. I'm looking for the total. I have the number of groups, and the answer is how many are in each group, and you're going to be able to get your answer. Did you answer your essential question? How do you determine if two numbers or expressions are equal? Yes, you have to write this down, use a complete sentence, put it in your notebook, and then share it with Miss Romero. You do have an exit ticket. Actually, you have two of them. Go ahead and solve this equation and solve this equation. This one is t divided by 9 equals 4. And this one is 6 times a quantity s equals 42. Put everything in your notebook. Feel free to rewind any of the explanations that I've given you and rewatch this video. Thank you so much. Hopefully this has been helpful. And I will check in on Ms. Romero to see how I did at teaching you and how you did at picking up the materials. Remember, show me that you understood without showing me you understood. Let's see how many of you presented your work, and then I'll ask Ms. Romero to send me some of the work that you are showing her as showing us that you got it without showing us that you got it.